Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Tracy Thomas and I want to welcome you to today's presentation. And as you can see, the title of today's presentation is Living Your Full Potential, the 6 shifts to take control of your negative emotions, your self-sabotaging behaviors, and your destiny. So it's really great to have all of you here, and I'm excited to share the transformative content I have for you on how to take control of both your emotions and behaviors, which I know is the most important thing to you and the reason you're here with me today. And because I've got so much I want to give to you, I just want to dive right in because each thing I'm going to share with you is pivotal to being able to live your full potential. So let's get started by talking about who this webinar is for. So this is for you if you're a professional, an executive, a business owner, or an entrepreneur who is committed to eliminating negative emotions, self-sabotaging behaviors, and all the negative issues they've caused in your life. Because you want to live your actual priorities, your real purpose, and your full potential effective immediately. This is also for you if you want to say goodbye to the most painful feeling there is, which is not living your full potential as a person, and say hello to a life where you have the capacity to be in charge of your destiny. Okay, so everyone, if this is really important to you, then I want you to pay very close attention all the way to the end of this presentation, because this next hour has the power to close the gap between where your current emotional and behavioral capacity is and the rock solid one you need to build the rest of your life on. Okay, so in this next 60 minutes, some things we're going to cover include how to take control of your negative emotions no matter how intense or frequent they are, how to take charge of your self-sabotaging behaviors no matter how entrenched or destructive they might be, and an accelerated way to gain control over yourself that can bypass years of therapy. Also, how to break free from repetitive, dysfunctional emotions and behaviors permanently. Also, the importance of clinical evaluations that no one ever told you about, and how undetected issues are creating obstacles you're not aware of, and they're causing you to not only underachieve in life, but underreceive the success that you deserve. Additionally, how to avoid therapeutic tactics that can actually make things worse for you, and most importantly, how to reclaim your life for the real purpose you're meant to be living, to be able to live your real priorities and focus on them, and get out of a lifetime of work on yourself. But my big promise to you today, the most important one, is that I'm going to give you a life-changing set of shifts and strategies to take control of your negative emotions, your self-sabotaging behaviors, and your destiny, so that you can live your full potential. But before we go too far, I want to set some intentions for our time together today. So let's get intentional about our potential. Okay, everyone, because being in control of yourself is the most important skill set a human being can ever have. So let's just get real about this. Every single thing in your life depends on your emotional and behavioral capacity. So if you want to stop doing life the hard way, then stay tuned to the end. And don't sabotage yourself by not completing this training. Let's change the pattern of self-sabotage right here and now, and have you follow through with this emotional and behavioral training to the end. Okay, so now that we've got that straight, I just want to take a second and check in and see if this sounds like you. You're sick of constantly striving for success, but never feeling successful or fulfilled. Instead, you mostly feel a range of negative emotions with rare moments of happiness and fulfillment. You're captive to negative emotions, easily affected, emotionally triggered and reactive, and deep down, you kind of despise yourself and feel a ton of guilt and shame. Now, this includes being challenged by stressful thinking that you can't seem to turn off, or emotional states such as anxiety, depression, frustration, anger, overwhelm, apathy, unhappiness, or emptiness. Well, you may also secretly or not so secretly struggle to control self-destructive, self-sabotaging, self-medicating, or maybe in some cases self-abusive behaviors despite the risks and consequences. And you may have been diagnosed with a behavioral disorder like an eating disorder or an addiction or something in that category. And this can also include things like issues with procrastination and struggling to get yourself to do the things that you want to do for yourself, but you also can feel powerless to get yourself to do those things that are in your best interest. And you might also feel like there's some sort of an invisible grip that's got a hold on you, keeping you doing the things you don't want to do and not doing the things you really want to do for yourself. You may have also been diagnosed or diagnosed yourself as having an emotional or behavioral disorder, right? Like anxiety, depression, addiction, an eating disorder, or something like that. And your emotional and behavioral issues might have caused physiological health problems, like being overweight, chemically dependent, having an autoimmune disorder, or any sort of range of health issues that might have developed from chronic stress and undetected root causal factors. Now, your relationships might also be filled with relational dysfunction, or they're just kind of overwhelming or challenging or disappointing. And this can be like a relationship to anyone. It can be your partner, it can be friends, coworkers, family members. It's really about your relationships in general. And being out of control of your emotions and behaviors has probably come at a significant cost. Things like time, money, opportunities, relationships, and just being unproductive in things that you really care about. And you're probably really tired of working on yourself, trying to change, but ultimately being stuck with the same set of issues over and over, no matter what you try and change. And you're drained maybe, and you've just been distracted from what you're really intending to achieve. And you might also feel like there are some hidden obstacles to your success that just haven't been uncovered by anyone else yet. And you're frustrated and disappointed by wasting money on conventional methods because the process doesn't lead anywhere. And because you've got more important things to do than spend your life trying to fix yourself with all of your time. And being out of control of your emotions and behaviors makes you feel out of control of your destiny. And then you even have more anxiety about what's going to happen in the future if you don't get a grip on them. And finally, are you locked in the painful prison of not living your full potential? Exhausted by years of progressively worsening struggle, while you try to keep your head above water, but you're in a never-ending quest to fix yourself that seems like it just doesn't yield any results. Well, if any of this sounds like you, then I've got good news, okay? None of these things, everyone, is the real problem. They are just symptoms of the real problem. The real problem is that you haven't made what I call the shifts. And we're going to talk about what those are in just a second. But for right now, just know this. Once you make them, you'll take control of your emotions and easily regulate how you feel. And you'll take charge of your behaviors and consistently make the right choices that you want to be able to make. And you'll triumph over the greatest challenges that you've ever dealt with and are dealing with right now. And you'll keep elevating your capacity to expand your life in all the ways that you want to. Also, you'll enjoy health, happiness, productivity, and prosperity that just continues to grow without limits. And your relationships will be fulfilling to you and nourishing to you, instead of draining and exhausting you in repetitive, frustrating relational dynamics. Also, you'll know your unique set of causal factors that are keeping you from feeling and being the best you want to be, right? And you'll know how to eliminate them. And you'll reverse the effects of these issues and have measurable positive results. No more reliving the same repetitive cycles and struggles, I promise you. And then you get to escape a life of never-ending work on yourself that never yields results anyway. And ultimately, you'll reclaim the rest of your life for living your purpose, fulfilling your potential, and optimally accomplishing your real priorities in life. And the best part, you'll live with dignity, security, and trust in yourself as the capable captain of your destiny. But for now, just know there are 6 simple shifts you need to make in order to take control of your emotions, your behaviors, and your destiny. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to make those shifts today. But before we go too much further, let me take a moment to introduce myself so that you know who I am and what I'm all about. Okay? I'm Dr. Tracy Thomas, but people call me Dr. T. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and a behavioral specialist and a performance coach. I'm a recovery strategist and interventionist with over 20 years of expertise in maximizing human performance and potential in both the corporate world and the clinical field. I'm a former corporate trainer for Fortune 100 companies, a former elite athlete, and an MBA. And I've worked for years with the uber wealthy and professional people from many industries to alleviate complex emotional and behavioral conditions where others had failed before me. And I'm known for taking on the most complex clinical issues and creating success stories in record time. Because of that, I've helped countless clients transcend their disorders and issues and save them and their families from a lifetime of pain and lost potential. Now, also keep in mind, everyone, that as a clinical doctor and a performance coach, I'm actually trained to diagnose and treat clinical disorders as well as facilitate behavioral transformation. And based on the success I've had helping people change their lives, I'm also a respected expert for over 20 national magazines and media outlets. Okay, everyone, so enough about me at this point. Let's take a shift here and talk about how I discovered the shifts. Okay, so discovering the shifts is kind of a long but very triumphant story. But the short version is that although I always have had a very successful life and I've been very fortunate, there was a time when I suffered from anxiety, depression, an eating disorder, a serious autoimmune disorder, and that just came with a whole host of issues that impacted my ability to live my full potential, right? Which was the greatest pain I ever felt in my life. And the scariest feeling of all, because you just don't know where this nightmare is going to lead you. And so I knew I had to become the person that I was just unable to find to help me. And so after successfully healing myself from every one of those issues, as if they never existed, I've gone on to heal countless clients from the same issues, as well as many other types of very significant disorders as well. And after seeing why so many of my clients had never gotten results with any other methods except for mine, and after observing why conventional methods were never going to work for the majority of people, I knew I just couldn't keep my proven process to just serving a select group of wealthy clients any longer. And that's why I'm now sharing it with all of you, because everyone deserves to live their full potential without going broke in the process. Okay, so now that you've learned a bit about how this all came to be, let's dive into the shifts, starting with shift number 1. And shift number 1 is to upgrade your transformation system. Now, replacing conventional treatment strategies for ones that produce accelerated, lasting results is the core reason that our clients are immediately and enduringly successful. Statistics don't lie, everyone. Most treatment strategies are flawed, and they just don't work for the majority of people. And if you just look at it, the time frames alone don't make any sense. I mean, 1 hour a week is somehow supposed to take care of things when there's 168 hours in a week in general. And this is somehow supposed to shift like multi-generational patterns of emotional and behavioral issues and disorders. It just doesn't make sense. The other issue is that most clinicians are operating on the fly with no real treatment plan from week to week. There's no accountability to a time frame to get your desired results. And there's just no game plan or agenda for how exactly they're going to get you there so that you can move on in a very specific time frame. And where they may create awarenesses for you that can be very helpful, they lack the leadership to facilitate an immediate and powerfully progressive transformation. And the truth is that most of them haven't created the big life that they want for themselves. So they can't even take it any further than they've taken themselves. So ultimately, you're always going to be limited by your other providers, level of success. And an issue is that they often use the wrong kind of empathy for people, and it makes it impossible to have your desired breakthroughs. Okay, because there's empathy that most providers use as their main operational strategy, but that kind of empathy often just validates and reinforces these long-standing issues. So instead of having the kind of empathy that empowers and produces real breakthroughs. Okay, so ultimately the issue is also that these processes are all designed to be open-ended. So you just keep finding things to work on yourself about, and that just leads to you feeling disempowered because it's like having another full-time job. And that just doesn't sound very good to anyone. Now, another issue to pay attention to is that in most of these cases, most clinicians do very little clinical diagnosis when much more is needed. And if you're working with a coach, they lack the diagnostic skills and they miss hidden clinical issues. Also, most providers you're dealing with operate in silos and they aren't coordinated with each other, which is why it's very inefficient for you and why most, the time you're never really seeing any progress. So just ask yourselves, have your providers ever talked to each other? Right? Probably not. Which is ultimately why having a doctor-coach combination is a much more comprehensive approach, right? Because with one provider who's actually doing real integrative treatment, things can be different, right? And if the treatment doesn't include being exceptional at psychological transformation of somebody's emotions and behaviors, then it's not really integrative. So, folks, it's time to just get really honest about your results. What's your return for all that you've invested so far? What are the literal, tangible results you've gotten from everything that you've tried? Okay, so if you don't have the exact results you want, then be open to an upgraded approach because it's not about you having some awareness or feeling a little bit better. This is about having the right approach, right? Where your issues should feel like there's significant progress happening and like you can achieve your results in just a matter of months. And just don't let anyone tell you any differently. And don't believe that the road to your recovery or your full potential is some long, windy one because it just doesn't have to be. So just be willing to retire ineffective transformational tactics and require a tactical, practical path, a very clear path to living your full potential that fast tracks you to where you want to be. Okay, because the truth of the matter is that there's a lot at stake, right? This is about the difference between a life of pain versus a life of potential. So accept nothing less than the best for yourself. Whatever method you've used before, everyone, if they haven't helped, don't give up. Just start fresh and know that with the right approach, you don't have to settle for the lifelong struggle. In fact, you can feel radically better in just a matter of weeks. Okay, so does this make sense, everyone? Does an upgrade in your transformation system where you can fast track your ideal results sound better than settling for a process that keeps getting extended and is supposed to represent your results? I mean, what do you really want, right? A process that keeps costing you money and time you'll never get back? Or the ability to live your full potential now, which gives you more time that is more fulfilling and actually provides you with what you want on every level, including saving yourself financially. Okay, it's a no-brainer, right? Okay, good. So now that we've established that, let's move on to shift number 2. And shift number 2 is to take control at the root level. So, know that addressing and diagnosing your biophysiological and psychosocial stress factors that lead to out-of-control behaviors and emotions is critical. Okay? Emotional and behavioral conditions are not just psychological. They are biologically based and they need to be addressed concurrently without exception. Okay, because emotional and behavioral conditions can be cured as if they never existed, but not if, the way that everyone does it, where their approach is entirely on the symptoms, that just can't work. Okay, addressing the root issues is the only thing that can eliminate the real causal factors. Otherwise, nothing can ever change, right, as you've already experienced. So just keep in mind that emotional and behavioral conditions are not hereditary, everyone. The causal factors are, and they just need to be uncovered and addressed, and everything can change. So the good news is, again, that complete healing and transformation are possible if all the causal factors are uncovered and addressed strategically, as well as having a psychological reconditioning process that destroys destructive multi-generational emotional and behavioral patterns that have, tons of multi-generational powerful momentum behind them. And shifting your struggle set point is essential to predictable high capacity functioning without any hidden limitations, okay, that you're just not aware of, because otherwise they're like a ceiling on everything you're trying to accomplish, which is why you always feel like you have something in your way and why it's so tiring. And also keep in mind that the reward for all your efforts cannot just be the abstinence of something, right? It just isn't reward enough for a human being to say, I'm going to stop doing this or that. Okay, the focus and the outcomes you're striving for must be all focused on living your purpose and living your full potential. And that's where your mind has to be, because that is the only thing that actually fuels real transformation and changes people's destinies. Okay, so to share with you how powerful this can be, let's look at a successful client of ours. Okay, so Mandy was desperate after years of treatment for addiction and eating disorder, chronic stress and depression, chronic anxiety, and just a whole other host of health issues that had developed. She'd been a successful professional, but now she was in fear she'd never be free to live the life she was meant to live. She was an eternal prisoner to her struggles, and she felt like her destiny was completely out of her control. She was also very, very terrified and hopeless, and things were just getting worse. Okay, many doctors had failed her, and her family felt a lot of distrust because they'd never seen anything be successful. So they felt a lot of distrust in the beginning, and it was really something that I could appreciate. But ultimately, they knew that moving forward into some potential solution was always going to be better than staying stuck with what they didn't know how to do. But all that distrust was understandable. So they'd spent like $2 million already over the years trying to get her well. And it was all on non-effective treatment. And when they really looked at it, it was like somewhere around $4 million on lost income alone. So we went to work, right? And we replaced the faulty treatment strategy, quote unquote, treatment strategy that was in place from people before me. And we replaced it with our methodology. And we diagnosed and addressed all of her root causal factors. Then we reconditioned her self-destructive psychology with a new psychological foundation, and in less than 3 months, she was in control, and she never emotionally or behaviorally relapsed again. So she and her family credit us with literally giving them all their freedom back, right? Because they were all captive to this. They loved her. Everyone was in it together, and their family could never be any better and live their potential. They couldn't be any better than Mandy, because she was a pivotal part of their family. So they were all trapped in this prison. And as this all shifted, they literally all felt liberated to live the life they were meant to be living. And let alone, their big joke about how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I saved them. And they're like tallying it all the time, right? They're thinking it could be worth millions of dollars over Mandy's lifetime and the lifetime of their family, because it was really stressing everyone out. It was, her mother was getting sick over this, and it was just so costly. So now things are incredibly different, and I get a phone call every Thanksgiving thanking me while they're all at the dinner table celebrating their freedom to enjoy the life they were meant to be living. And as for Mandy, she refers to this as the supermodel program, because out of every aspect of her transformation, her favorite part of everything was eliminating a 25-year eating disorder, just dropping 40 pounds without dieting and never having any food issues again, right? She's just got this great sense of humor, and she would always talk about being paroled from the prison she thought she'd be in for the rest of her life. So it's just phenomenal. So everyone, just to give you that example of how incredible this can be, I just want to go ahead and move on and bring you to the importance of shift number 3. So shift number 3 is to get essential evaluations. Now, there are numerous health evaluations that must be done to determine all the causal factors to your emotional and behavioral issues so you can actually eliminate them. Otherwise, everybody's operating on assumptions, and that's the way people never get better, right? Just look at your results, because these things need to be fully objective, not subjective with what somebody thinks after talking to you for 10 minutes. Okay, so in-depth evaluation is almost never done. Like, I've talked to clients over the years, I'll always ask this question, and the answer is invariably no, or some form of barely at all. So what happens is, instead, nothing's really fully evaluated. People start doing treatment, and cookie cutter treatment is applied based on a bunch of assumptions. And it's cookie cutter because typically providers are just treating you with what they're comfortable with doing, but that's not necessarily what you needed. And if it was, you'd have your tangible results right now. So this issue is really a really impactful one, and it leads to undertreatment, mistreatment, and when the root causes of the problems aren't addressed, then little to no progress is made. And the worst part is that things just keep getting exponentially worse, right? They just keep progressing, as I know you've experienced this, because keep in mind, these are progressive issues. So they need a process that progresses faster than them, or you're going to get more vulnerable to these issues day by day. So here's what we found over the years through essential and extensive evaluation of our clients. Okay, our clients always, and I mean always, have an array of undiagnosed issues, causing them to be out of control of their emotions and their behaviors and living below their potential. And I mean no matter how successful they are, because we work with some of the most successful people they are, but if they're not living at their top level, that feels as painful as anyone in any position anywhere. So, the reality is, if they're out of control, this whole thing is happening because there's areas that have not been detected, and that would have to be the case, right? Otherwise, if they were, and they were discovered and then addressed, you would feel better right now, right? Everybody would, and you'd be moving on with the life that you want to be living. So without these essential evaluations, this creates a lot of confusion in the whole process for the providers and for you. This creates subjective diagnoses and a false sense of ability and potential, and it also leads to a lack of the complete diagnostic picture, which ultimately leaves loopholes in the transformation strategy and is very costly. It also causes long-term damage for all involved, and in some cases, even loss of life, right? So think about the high-profile people you've heard taking their life and overdosing when they are literally getting treatment from the top people in the world, just like my clients were before me. And look what happens, right? They're not immune to it because the process doesn't work without these shifts that I'm sharing with you today. And with all of this stuff happening, it's just really overwhelming. This ends up driving shame, more stress, and more out of control activity, because something that's undetected and it's really stronger than any intentions that you have, and it just overrides you, right? And you're affected and out of control, and that just compounds more shame, it compounds the issues, and it leads you to believe that that's who you are and that the treatment doesn't work, right? And then you try and escape the pain by acting out, because the pain of not getting the right treatment or transformation is as painful as having the issues in the first place. So this just leads to more intensive and destructive out-of-control episodes and emotional and behavioral relapsing. And this can just go on for years. It can, in fact, go on for a lifetime, everyone. Because what a lot of people do is they just stop trying to get help altogether, and they just give up and sink deeper into the self-medicating behaviors to just manage the pain and get through the day. So to give you a sense of how much impact these evaluations can have, I want to share with you about another client of ours. So Al was one of the most stressed clients I've ever met. Truly. He was addicted to substances, suffered from depression, anxiety, insomnia, extreme rage, low self-esteem, social anxiety, and a lot of painful relationships. And after struggling for years, he felt like he was in a hole he'd never crawl out of. An engineer with 145 IQ, he was constantly angry and resentful about his life, and he was just overwhelmed. And, he just was using illicit drugs daily for like 13 years to just deal with this all, which ultimately just compounded the issues more. And, he was absolutely very compulsive. He wasted a lot of his life, spending hours watching porn and thousands of dollars playing video poker. And he felt unable to control himself while his life was stalling. And he was often in what he referred to as like the spin cycle or Groundhog Day, right? The same battle each day with no fulfillment. And it was really made him feel very empty. And, he was just in constant turmoil, believing he was defective, and he felt trapped. And it was like, he'd say, being me is the worst thing that ever happened to me, right? Because everything he tried had failed. And the 1 hour per week therapy program that had no power to diagnose and elevate him out of the trench he was in, just made him feel like he was defective at getting well. So fortunately, Al was willing to follow our treatment and transformational formula. And we did an extensive series of assessments on Al. And the collective data revealed that Al had been living with several previously undetected root causal factors that led him over the years to develop ADD, PTSD, auditory processing disorder, thyroid disorder, adrenal fatigue syndrome, Lyme's disease, and leaky gut syndrome. And over the years, these issues were just never uncovered as they kept manifesting. The root causes was never uncovered. And ultimately, it was easy to see why the causal factors were all barriers to Al being functional, despite his exhaustive work to improve himself. This is an engineer, so he's always trying to figure it out. And it was easy to see why there were huge obstacles to Al living his potential and being able to feel successful without limitations. So it just was very easy to see that everything about his emotional and behavioral problems was absolutely clear. Like it was crystal clear, and it made perfect sense. So even though Al was a bit angry to learn about how all of this had been going on, why he'd been just suffering and not properly diagnosed, he was at the same time very incredibly relieved that things finally made sense and that there was a pathway out of this nightmare that he'd been living in. So, with the appropriate evaluations done, the right transformational formula was very easy to customize to Al. Right? And now all of Al's issues get addressed directly and integratively. And Al doesn't need to self-medicate or self-destruct. Al is now in control of his emotions and behaviors and enjoying his life more than ever. The thing is, he's been promoted. He's adding a lot to his engineering education, so he's able to really be focused on his real goals. He's expanded his life out of social anxiety into ballroom dancing, challenging himself to do something even bigger than just, getting through the day. And he's just using more of his potential in the world. And the fun part for Al, out of everything, is he says that he feels safe and secure about his future, right? Because, he's now in control of his destiny, right? Instead of feeling for so many years like something else was in charge of him that he had no awareness of, but like he didn't know, was it just going to run him into a brick wall, or, you know, it was just the scariest thing. And now he loves just feeling good now and totally secure and safe about his future. So everyone, now that I've tackled shift number 3, let's go ahead and look at shift number 4. Okay, and shift number 4 is about having a comprehensive and integrative approach to your transformational process. Okay, so a comprehensive and integrative approach is the most powerful way to take control of your emotions and your behaviors, because it's the only method that treats every single issue you have and every negative effect of those issues all at one time in an accelerated way. So ultimately, you stop the bleeding, right? And you get into the healing and strengthening, and you get that stuff done quickly. Okay, and an integrative approach must include dealing with both the psychology of a person and their physiology. Otherwise, it's not truly integrative. So let's just take a moment and look at the old way of doing this, okay? So with the old way, all you need is like all of this stuff. I mean, this is a lot, right? So depending on what your issues are and what's involved, I've listed out things here that you might be recommended to do, or you might be, you know, over the years have been given this entire set of things that you're now going to have to focus on. And, you know, psychotherapy and medication and psychiatry and couples therapy and families therapy and, you know, just all kinds of medical treatment for all the issues that have developed from the issues that are underlying. And by the way, you need a coach, you need a health coach, a life coach, and you may need a recovery coach. And now if you're in recovery from addiction, you're going to now need a lifelong focus on your addiction recovery treatment. And you're going to be, you know, depending on what it is, an eating disorder or codependency or whatever your issues are, any sort of addictive disorder, then you're supposed to spend literally your life in recovery meetings and maybe even work with a sponsor and hang out with a whole bunch of other addicts that are struggling and doing the same thing. And you've got a whole bunch of steps you've got to go through, and you've got to redo those steps throughout your life, while you potentially, depending on your issues, just need to admit that you're a defective person with bad character and you can't be trusted. So you got to focus on some random higher power. And again, depending on the situation, you know, there's just, you may have to go to rehab and detox and live your life on medication like a guinea pig. Read every single book there is, do every single program. And worst of all, do all of this as your own case manager, where you're like piecing together everything here, right? So make your life all about these issues and fixing yourself indefinitely with various processes and providers. And maybe you'll live with control over your emotions and your behaviors and your destiny, right? Or maybe not, because this is a complete crapshoot, right? Because you're running the show here, and this is just really what we call like a cross your fingers transformational approach. And I mean, does that make sense to you, everyone? I mean, this is your life. This is not strategic whatsoever. This is like, I'm winging it here, right? So this whole approach, this whole philosophy just keeps a whole industry of people employed who all work in a very disjointed way, and it keeps them in business, and it keeps you on a hamster wheel because no one's collaborating, and you are left to be in charge of figuring out how to put all of this together and make some sort of an A to Z strategy that you have no idea how to do, right? So you're the treatment planner, you're trying to figure out how to put all the pieces, you're not trained for that, and by the way, you're the one with the issues. So why would we ever expect you to be able to navigate yourself out of them, right? Isn't that the reason you need help in the first place? Okay, the logic of you trying to do this for yourself is completely illogical and exactly why you're stuck. And besides, don't you already have a full-time job? I mean, this is just crazy. So the new way is an efficient and comprehensive approach. Okay, no more running around, spreading yourself thin, wasting your time and resources, trying to be your best while your life is just passing you by. Okay, no more therapists, psychiatrists, coaches, meetings, doing programs indefinitely while you're supposed to be focused on your real priorities. Okay, no more loopholes, everyone. No more inefficiency, no complexity, and no mysterious incurable illness that you just have to spend the rest of your life working on. And, no more doing someone else's program that was never going to work for you and doing all the work yourself, or accepting disappointing results, because a comprehensive and integrative approach is the only effort needed to take control, because the new way looks like this. One team, one training system. Okay? Comprehensive and extensive evaluations done. So you can take the data from the evaluations and address every issue integratively. And this is what you do until all the issues are gone, so that you end up with a total transformation. Okay? So that's the new way. So let me share with you about a client of ours. Okay? So our client Andy was overwhelmed with her eating disorder, and by anxiety and depression and a lot of other self-limiting behaviors in her life. Andy was suffering. She was going from doctor to doctor, and it was just totally overwhelming her, because the doctors just didn't seem to know what they were doing. And she really felt like, it was this whole process of everyone trying, just like being okay with a bunch of trial and error, while she was just losing out on years of her life and countless opportunities that just made her feel even more out of control and dependent on people that just didn't seem like they had a solid game plan. So once she became a client, we immediately went to work using our comprehensive and integrative approach to efficiently address the 11 different disorders that had manifested from the impact of years of chronic stress. And the good news is that Andy broke free from a lifelong cycle of underachievement in less than 4 months. So with one process that covered all the emotional, behavioral, and psychological issues, now Andy is on top of her game and celebrating being in control and focusing on her real life for the first time ever. This is amazing what happened for Andy, and it was so fun to see this all go down and just to know, how her life is now. And it was really, really a profound thing to experience. So today our methodology helps countless clients to effectively and efficiently take control of themselves and their destiny by understanding their matrix of causal factors and treating the issues integratively. A whole client's life can turn around very quickly. Okay, everyone, so in moving our way through the shifts, you can see that we're building a foundation to help you guarantee that you can take back control of your emotions and your behaviors. So let's move on to shift number 5, okay, which is perhaps the most important shift of all, and that is to replace your operating system. Okay, so realize, everyone, that you need emotional and behavioral training to close the gap between where your emotions and your behavioral capacity is right now and where it needs to be for you to meet the demands of your life, okay, as well as the demands of your dreams, right, which is really where life feels like we're really alive. So emotions and behavioral effects, right? All of this stuff that's happening from this, things with relationships, dating, parenting, career, finances, all of this stuff that's affected, right? Every single moment of every single day that your, capacity right now is impacting these things and creating issues. That's what makes this so important, to replace your emotional and behavioral capacity and elevate that so that every single thing in your life, every moment of every day, isn't negatively affected and in fact can be positively impacted. Okay, so recognize that your emotional and behavioral intelligence needs to be developed, everyone. It's got to match up to the rest of your intelligence, because I know you're all so freaking smart. And it has to be able to fulfill the drive you have to live your potential. Okay, so just think about this. You've developed yourself in so many areas in life. You're super smart, you're driven, and you're trying to live the life you were meant to live, but your emotional and behavioral training and foundation came from your parents, from your family, and from the community around you. And for the most part, you probably never had a proper emotional and behavioral education. Okay, no one did, so this isn't just you. But if you make that a priority, then not only will you get better and heal and recover, but you'll be better than most people around you, because you'll have the number one skill set that a human being needs and can ever have in life, right? A state-of-the-art emotional operating system that can serve as the foundation for everything in your life going forward. So, replacing your operating system looks like this. You've got to take charge by filling in the gaps in your emotional training as quickly as possible. Okay, no one else can take control of this for you. You got to develop yourself, or nothing can change. And every day you're not developing, you're causing yourself harm and you're costing yourself dearly. Okay, so step up for yourself and don't leave yourself hanging. Okay, all signs are probably indicating that your emotional foundation is rocky and it needs to be upgraded. So just stop lying to yourself about your suffering and what's really at stake here. Okay, because literally nothing you try to do to fix things will work without emotional and behavioral training, because it's impossible to live your potential without it. And for some people, the lack of it will continue to make them progressively more exhausted, sicker, and at risk of serious consequences in all areas of their lives, including the impact that this can have on their families, maybe their children, and this can go on indefinitely and cause irreparable and costly damage that you'll be paying for generations to come. So just stop neglecting yourself, everyone, and stop allowing more turmoil and more issues to pile up and more damage and destruction to everything that you care about. And instead, commit to being your highest capacity self without conditions. So don't wait till there's some perfect moment to do it, because that moment won't come, because your lack of emotional and behavioral training won't let that happen. So nothing can change and years of your life will just go by. So just face it, okay? There is just no other strategy more critical to a high quality life, and otherwise you're living your whole life with a huge disability and fighting an uphill battle when that just isn't necessary. So just recognize also your struggles haven't been managed correctly. So start fresh and don't be deterred. Let go of what's happened up to this point, because you didn't have the emotional and behavioral education and development you needed. You had one by default from your family and the people around you who never had one, and you've been operating without the most important foundation a human being needs. So just realize that anything you've accomplished to this point was done on your regular intelligence, your drive, and self-will. Okay, but you've been handicapped without the emotional operating system you need, and it's just that simple. Okay, but now is the time that can change, and you can unlearn the dysfunctional emotional and behavioral training you received by default and osmosis, and you can rebuild yourself an entirely new operating system. And the way you're going to start doing this is that you're going to focus on your purpose and your potential and make decisions from the person you want to be. Because if you're not emotionally and behaviorally trained to be your highest capacity self yet, then you can't depend on your current emotions and behaviors to move you forward. Okay, you're going to have to move yourself in the direction you want to go by staying focused on what it is you want to change, how you want your life to be, who you want to be, and how you're going to get there, right? And making decisions as the person you want to be and asking yourself, what would they do to make sure they live their full potential? And also, everyone, just a reminder to be kind to yourself, because your current operating system is programmed to continue to do what it's always done. It's on autopilot and it's running you. So don't expect it to change on its own. It can't change without a strategic upgrade to your system. Okay, and on that note, let's move to our last shift, which is also foundational to you living your full potential. Okay, so our last shift is invest in mentoring. And when it comes to living your potential, everyone should have a mentor. Okay, a mentor who knows exactly how to do what you want to do is the only rational strategy that makes sense. Otherwise, your effort's like shooting in the dark and hoping your aim is right? All that effort, time, money, and you are not even sure if you're on the right path or using the right methodologies. And I know you've been there before, right? Where you're paying for stuff and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And that's just not a great strategy. So when you have a good mentor, this is why, things can be different. Because a good mentor can diagnose problems and address them at the root level. They can also provide state-of-the-art strategies, right? And that's because they're an expert in many areas, right? So you want them to be both a clinician and a coach and have expertise in many areas, because if it's all specialization, then you're going to have to go to 15 people to get this stuff fixed, and that is not necessary or effective. Okay, so a good mentor also accelerates your progress exponentially and provides you a definitive pathway to your goals. And they lead you to your goals while you implement, so that you feel completely confident and you've got that accountability to make sure everything goes exactly the way you want it to. A good mentor also identifies and removes hidden obstacles to your success and contains the process so it's as painless as possible, and then holds you to a higher standard than you might ever be able to hold yourself to. So your results are going to be even better than what you decided they should be. So just keep this in mind, right? As an example, there are new strategies in your head right now that would not have been there if you didn't make time for this webinar, right? Because this webinar is actually mentoring after all. Okay, so a mentor who is a doctor is even better. And in a world full of experts, you can have it all. An efficient and cost-effective combination of a doctor, a coach, and a mentor all in one. Okay, everyone. So let's just review what we've done, what we've looked at today, and what you need to win. Okay, we know you're going to upgrade your transformation system, take control at the root level, get essential evaluations, use a comprehensive and integrative approach, and replace your emotional operating system and invest in mentoring. And all of these shifts are enough to take control of your emotions, your behaviors, and your destiny, so you can live your full potential. Okay, so now you have a choice, everyone. You can either take the info I've given you and you can forget all about it. You can keep on struggling and taking the long, hard, and very costly road through life because you don't have the operating capacity you need. You can keep trying to operate on that rocky foundation, employing the very non-strategic strategy of hoping that something will spontaneously change while everything in your life is being affected because of your current emotional level. Okay, you can keep on trying to use the same strategy of just getting through the day or surviving and getting by because you've been so disappointed, understandably, and you're trying to protect yourself, which is also something I can appreciate because most people haven't delivered what they promised. Or you can get beyond these long-standing challenges and get control of yourself so that you can live the vision and the destiny you want for yourself starting now. And everyone, starting now is very important because not starting now puts you at risk of not starting ever. Okay, and that puts you at risk of more days of your life passing by that you never get back and being in more pain as a result of not living your real purpose and your full potential. So if you want to be in control of your emotions and behaviors and take charge of yourself and your life now and for the rest of your life, then here's how I can help. Okay? My team and I have set aside some time in the next week to speak to you directly about how you can apply these ideas and begin to live your full potential today without wasting one more day of your life that you'll never get back underachieving or being unfulfilled. Whatever your biggest challenges are, everyone, we've seen it all, and we know how to move you beyond it. No matter the difficulty, the dysfunction, or the disorder, we are world-class clinicians and transformational specialists, and we can handle it. Okay, so on the call, we'll work with you to uncover the cause of the challenges you're having, and we'll craft a step-by-step game plan to help you achieve all of your goals in an accelerated time frame. Okay, so no matter how difficult your struggles, your conditions, or your circumstances, or no matter how long-standing these have been, we'll help you get total clarity about exactly what you want for yourself and the exact steps you should take to get there ASAP. And the cost of this is absolutely free. Okay, but there is a catch, everyone. So here's the catch. This is not for everyone. Here's who this is for. Okay, this is for professionals, executives, business owners, and entrepreneurs. And you must be absolutely committed to eliminating your emotional and behavioral issues and driven to live your full potential. And you gotta be willing to invest in yourself so that you can develop the capacity you clearly need. Okay, this is not just some temporary band-aid to the problem. This is a complete methodology to realizing your goals now and living your potential permanently. So, you might be wondering, why are we doing this? And it's really simple. It's because we're passionate about helping people go from where they are to living a life of full potential, right? So whether it's someone like in a significant clinical crisis or someone who's just really uncomfortably unfulfilled, the more success we create for people, the more inspired we are to unleash more potential in more people. And we figured you might want our help too. So if you do end up wanting us to help you and then we think it's a good fit, we might invite you to become one of our new clients we take on this month. And if it's not a good fit for either of us, then that's fine too. So if we work together, everyone, we'll put you through the same programs we put our successful clients through. Okay, the curriculum is designed to get you in control of your emotions and behaviors quickly, conveniently, and efficiently, and we'll expect you to have a significant increase in self-control, an elevation in empowerment and well-being, and a depth of mastery within just 1 to 2 weeks. Plus, this is really the best part, tangible physical results. Okay, listen, I know you've all been disappointed and you feel like nothing can work for you, but just keep in mind that this is something different, and what has happened in the past didn't work because the things you needed were just missing. So no matter how disappointed you've been, stay open to something different and don't mistakenly apply what happened in the past that didn't work to something that is finally going to be able to give you the pieces you've always been missing. Okay, what wasn't available to you before is not your fault, and you've done the best you could with that, with what you were given. However, now there's something that can change things immediately and for the rest of your life. So this would be your fault if you don't give yourself the opportunity to finally have what you always needed. So, for those of you who are ready to release this struggle and chart a new course, okay, for where you want to be, where you're totally in control and in charge of your destiny, then book a call with us today. So if you book a call with us, okay, you're going to go to the link on the screen, right? Or there's a button, right, that says book or apply now or something like that. And you're just going to click on that. Okay, so everyone's spaces are limited. We can only provide this opportunity to a set amount of people. So definitely sign up now. And if for some reason the button just doesn't appear where it's supposed to, just use the link on the screen, okay? Now, when you click through, you'll be taken to our calendar page and you'll see the available appointment times. So just grab what works for you. And if something doesn't fit with your schedule, I encourage you to just do what you need to do to make this a priority. Because this is a game changer, everyone. So don't let anything get in the way. Okay, after that, you'll be taken to an application page. Fill it out immediately, if at all possible, because we need that application before our appointment with you. Okay, and if you're not willing to fill out the application, then maybe that's a sign that you're just not that committed to changing yet. But if you are, then fill it out so we have some background on you before your appointment. And when it's time for your appointment, we're going to get on the call with you at that time that you chose, and we're going to get to work, okay? So now, folks, again, I know this can be overwhelming to deal with all of this when you're not feeling at the top of your game, but I promise you that it's going to be the best hour you've ever spent elevating your capacity to live your potential for the rest of your life. So just work through your resistance and fears and skepticism, and don't let it get in the way of the life you really want. You've got to follow through as the person you want to be, otherwise we can't help you. We know you don't want to go continuing down the path that you're on, so just focus on your potential and propel yourself forward no matter how much pull you might feel to stay in the struggle. All right, everyone, so it's been fantastic to be able to share this information with you. So just be of service to yourself. Go to that link on the screen or click the button that says book now, so everything can be different from now on. And thank you, everyone, for participating today. And for any of you that are a part of our Facebook group called The Art of Self-Control, thanks for your support and participation there as well. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you. Goodbye.